Coming up today on the Nick Craig Show, left-wing groups continue inserting themselves in local government. In this case, we're talking about absurd proclamations. We'll cover the details on that, plus some major winter weather expected across southeastern North Carolina over the weekend. All those details coming up. And a good Wednesday morning to you. Welcome into the Nick Craig Show, streaming live this morning on YouTube, Rumble, X, and Facebook. Don't forget that you can take the show on demand 24/7 in your favorite podcast app by checking out the Nick Craig Show. You can search for that, subscribe, and get a new episode delivered each and every weekday morning. You can also listen and watch the show online by visiting the website nickcraig.com. Our show this morning brought to you in part by Melissa Gott and her team over at the Law Group here in Wilmington. You can find out more about them, lawgroupnc.com. We'll hear from them coming up a little bit later on in the show. There's no surprise, and you shouldn't be shocked to find out that left-wing groups have continued their intrusion into local governments. This is not something that is necessarily or inherently new across the United States. One thing I will say, however, what is a little bit different now than in years past, is I think more and more individuals, and I would argue folks that are not even overtly political, are finding themselves fed up and done with this woke garbage. One of the things that this administration has done at the national level has started to cut out this kind of woke garbage and woke nonsense. And I think the vast majority of the American people agree with this. They're sick of the pandering. They're sick of the placating. They're sick of this, this person is guilty. This party is guilty for this kind of guilt, this kind of guilt. It's just everybody's over it. For years, we had to sit and suffer through this garbage day in and day out. And finally, the American people have frankly said, enough of the bullshit. We're done. We don't want to hear it anymore. If you want to do as a private entity or private organization, if you want to play into all of this woke nonsense and do all this DEI training and hire these diversity managers and all this other crap, have at it. You can do that if that's what you want to do as your entity, as your organization, as your company. Have at it. I'm not the police to tell you what you can and can't do in your private business. However, I am the police when it comes to government, because government is not a private entity. Government is not a private organization. The only reason that government exists and can do what it does is because they take from you and they take from me. Every single year, every single time you go to the store and buy something, they take. They don't produce anything for the most part. Sorry to my friends in local government. They don't really provide a whole hell of a lot of anything. They just take. That's where the line needs to be drawn. That's where the difference truly is. Local government, state government, and even to some extent, the federal government has lost its focus on what its core purpose is, which is to provide services to individuals. And that's pretty much it. It's not to determine and get into the political mud bath right now that is woke ideology, this, DEI, that. That's no business of local government. However, I will give the devil his due to the credit of these far left activist groups. They have done an absolutely masterful job at inserting themselves into these kinds of governments. They have done a masterful job at injecting their people with their ideologies and their agendas into all facets of government. It's all over the freaking place. All over the place. The title of today's show is the National Day of Racial Healing. That's the title of this Wednesday morning's program. And the reason that is the title is due to a meeting that took place in New Hanover County yesterday, the meeting of the New Hanover County Board of Commissioners for January the 20th, 2026, in which the county came forward with a resolution under this exact same name. The resolution reads directly, and I pulled this directly from the meeting agenda, New Hanover County Board of Commissioners, if you want to go look at it for yourself, page 43 of their agenda, National Day of Racial Healing Proclamation. Sound absurd? Sound a little ridiculous just based on the name? Yeah, it should, because it is. So before we get into any more of the back and forth on this, one of the members of the New Hanover County Board of Commissioners, Republican board member, I'll note, Commissioner Rivenbark, actually read through the proclamation in its entirety. So I guess before I levy my criticism, before you make up your mind on what you think, let's hear what said proclamation stands for. What is the purpose of this thing? Here's directly from the meeting yesterday.
Whereas New Hanover County Board of Commissioners recognizes the importance of fostering community grounded in mutual respect, dignity, and understanding among all residents. And whereas strong communities are built through open dialogue and a shared commitment to treating one another with fairness, civility, and whereas the National Day of Racial Healing is observed annually on the Tuesday following Martin Luther King Jr. Day, provides an opportunity for individuals and communities to reflect on shared values, promote understanding, and strengthen relationships across differences. And whereas opportunities for respectful conversation and community engagement can help build trust, encourage cooperation, and support a welcoming environment for all who live and work in New Hanover County. And whereas recognizing and promoting shared value contribute to a stronger, more connected community by encouraging respect and understanding among residents. And whereas New Hanover County encourages residents, organizations, and community partners to observe this day in ways to promote unity, understanding, and positive community connections. Now therefore be it proclaimed by New Hanover County Board of Commissioners that Tuesday, January 20th, 2026 is hereby proclaimed as National Day of Racial Healing in New Hanover County, adopted this 20th day of January 2026.
So there's the resolution, there's the proclamation as it was read there by Commissioner Rivenbark on the New Hanover County Board of Commissioners. And as you listen to, and maybe you read if you're watching the show on any of our live or after the fact channels this morning, YouTube, Rumble, X, and Facebook, it's exactly what you would expect it to be. This is exactly the kind of woke, liberal garbage and nonsense that has seeped into so many different facets of our life. I will make the point very clearly right now that any sort of proclamation like this is not the role of government. Government is not in the business of proclamations. Government is in the business of providing security through funding things like law enforcement. They are in the business of providing some level of service to the citizens in which they represent. In this case, we're talking about New Hanover County. So you've got things like, parks and gardens and facilities and utilities and things of that nature. That is the business that local government should be in. But too often we see this is the realm that government would rather play. They would rather bow down to these left-wing groups. They'd rather bow down to these kind of ridiculous proclamations, these ridiculous National Day of Racial Healing. What the hell does that even mean? It's 2026. And we have to, as a county, the best time being spent by our county government, not only the elected officials, the 5-member board, but county staff, is putting together this resolution. There's no more pressing issue going on within New Hanover County that this is how we start off a county commission meeting here in 2026. Are you freaking kidding me? This is the best we got? So this resolution was read. It was proposed. This is the second year in a row in which this kind of left-wing garbage has been forced down the throats of the citizens of New Hanover County. And as we heard last year, almost a year ago, as we were just kind of starting the show here, New Hanover County Commissioner Dane Scalise, who I'll also note is running for the North Carolina House House member Ted Davis is retiring his post after his long bout of service representing a good portion of New Hanover County. He is retiring. Commissioner Scalise has stepped up to run in that race. This is how the conversation unfolded after this proclamation was read.
I spoke out against this proclamation last year. It was the very first time that we had this proclamation. This proclamation, this day, is a brainchild of an organization called the W.K. Kellogg Foundation.
Now, hold on a second. I got to pause Commissioner Scalise here. It's a pretty serious accusation to make. This is the brainchild of an organization, right? I mean, when you're saying, hey, somebody else is responsible for this, then I think that we should probably take a look and see if that's accurate or not. So, well, I did. If you go to the website of the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, the website is wkkf.org. Stands for the W.K. Kellogg Foundation. And you go to their website, you go to their menu page here, and view their areas of focus and some of their signature efforts. You will see right here, prominently on the signature efforts of this organization, you will see the National Day of Racial Healing. It's right on their website. You can see all of the various information about it. They've got a full website actually set up just for this. The website for that is dayofracialhealing.org. They've got the whole thing set right up. And you go to that website. You go all the way to the bottom of the page, and you can see, very clear, pull my picture out here for a second. The National Day of Racial Healing is part of the W.K. Kellogg Foundation's Truth, Racial Healing Transformation efforts. So it would appear that the comments made by Commissioner Scalise were absolutely correct and absolutely spot on. More from him.
Multi-billion-dollar political advocacy organization that has suggested to local governments like ours that we should adopt this proclamation, allegedly in the name of us coming together and being kinder to one another. And there is plenty that's in the proclamation that I don't find objectionable, but I do find objectionable the W.K. Kellogg Foundation and what they stand for and what they advocate for, which includes radical views such as, and I directly quote, "A pre-existing harmony and unity among groups is not the case in the United States amid a deeply entrenched system of racial hierarchy and colonization," and other similar views that are premised on the assumption of inherent division between us. I oppose this worldview.
That point cannot be highlighted any more strongly than Commissioner Scalise just highlighted it. Many of these left-wing groups, many of these left-wing individuals all come at this stuff from the same idea and the same notion, which is exactly what Dane just said. This inherent worldview that there are groups of people that are the oppressors and there are groups of people that are the oppressed. We saw this and have seen this play out in the public education system, which is in large part why I am a strong believer that individuals are beginning to push back against this so much. They saw firsthand this kind of nonsensical commentary being shoved down the throats of their children, being pushed in their English class, their math class. No place for that. That's not a legitimate discussion and conversation. You want to discuss that in a world history class with people? That's fine. Have discussions about that stuff. I don't particularly care. But when you're making that part of your lesson planning in a math class, I'm going to argue that that's probably a little bit beyond the pale, and that's exactly what we saw. It's why we have seen so many more individuals get engaged with what's going on with their, for example, their local school board. Because they want the DEI, they want the woke, they want the left-wing ideology, they want the left-wing agenda out of their kids' classrooms. They want to send their kids to public school. They want their children to learn how to read, write, do math, and become a useful member of society. That's what they're interested in. They don't want their kids to come home and say, "Hey, mommy, because of my skin color, my math teacher told me that I'm an oppressor." What the hell does that even mean? We're teaching this to 3rd and 4th graders? Of course. because the public school system is the best indoctrination tool that those on the political left have. And again, credit to them. They've done a phenomenal job over the span of the last 50 or 60 years, taking the public education system and molding it into the best tool possible to raise the next generation of liberal leftist activists. It's come out into light more. A lot of that was due to COVID-19. A lot of it was due to the fact that for the first time really in modern history, parents were essentially in the classroom with their children. They were looking over their shoulder, listening to the discussions taking place when these same moronic school boards decided that it was a good idea to send your kids home for 2 freaking years to learn on Zoom. Parents started listening to this stuff and going, what the hell's going on here? You're teaching my kid what? You're telling them what? It's a 8-year-old, a 9-year-old. And you're telling them that based on things that they have no control over, like their skin color, that they're an oppressor or they're inherently oppressed? No, we don't want that. Then you saw and have continued to see parents be more involved and more engaged in what's going on in the public education system. More from Commissioner Scalise.
I do not believe that it is the proper role of our county to endorse proclamations like this from
Amen.
multi-billion-dollar political organizations like the W.K. Kellogg Foundation. And indeed, why would we let this organization that has no local presence to write our policy for us, to tell us what proclamations that we're supposed to pass? We do not have to, and we should not. I have a higher opinion of our fellow citizens than the W.K. Kellogg Foundation does. Our capacity for love, our desire for purpose, our longing for home, our devotion to family, these things are more powerful than what differences we may or may not have with our neighbors. And these things are powerful enough to stand on their own. And finally, this is not, in my estimation, in a broader sense, the proper role of local government. We should be focused solely on our core responsibilities to our citizens. Excellent public services without burdensome overtaxation. And I would certainly prefer for us to get out of the high-volume resolution proclamation business because they rarely advance our statutory responsibilities as local elected officials. But until then, I have a substitute proclamation to propose that fully affirms our commitment to individual dignity and respect.
We'll get to Commissioner Scalise's substitute motion here in a second. But again, really highlighting on that point, is this really the best use of resources as it relates to county government? I mean, I'm just going to lay it out there. I remember, and I brought you the conversations here on the show last year as we had to listen to people like Stephanie Walker and Rob Zappel have a complete and total meltdown over the fact that the Republicans on the New Hanover County Board of Commission were voting not for a insanely high property tax increase, the one in which they wanted. And we were told that, oh my God, you're cutting the knees off of government. There's not going to be any resources available. We're going to have to lay everybody off. The county government is going to crumble. Our brand new ridiculous government center in the parking lot of a strip club is going to crumble at its knees because you won't raise taxes. Yet this is, I guess, this stuff's still continuing. So obviously work is continuing. Obviously there's still enough money to push this kind of garbage through. So maybe that was a little blown out of proportion, you think? And have no fear as budget conversations begin, which they will start here shortly in the next couple of weeks. I saw Brunswick County had a budget workshop meeting yesterday. It's going to be the exact same thing. Constant fear, constant sky is falling, constant everything is just going to fall and crumble in front of our very eyes. Meanwhile, government has got time to hash through this. And I, as Commissioner Scalise notes, and I'm in full agreement with him, and some members of our live chat are as well, it's just not the role of government in any way, shape, or form. So here is the substitute proposed motion from Commissioner Scalise.
New Hanover County Board of Commissioners proclamation affirming dignity and respect for we the people. Whereas the New Hanover County Board of Commissioners affirms that we the people of the United States have inherent value regardless of race, religion, or creed. And whereas the dignity and respect are not granted to we the people by the government, but are the unalienable rights of every such person. And whereas the ultimate recognition of human dignity and respect lies in honoring the unique worth and value of each individual member of We the People. And whereas we the people, both as individuals and as fellow citizens, deserve dignity and respect regardless of immutable characteristics. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the New Hanover County Board of Commissioners that New Hanover County supports, recognizes, and affirms the dignity and respect due to we the people, and encourages all of its citizens to live in harmony together, because our strength comes from our shared commitment to each other and this great county and country we call home. I therefore, again, make a substitute motion that we adopt my proposed proclamation written by me, a member of this board, and not the W.K. Kellogg Foundation.
So there's the substitute motion, and if you start digging into this W.K. Kellogg Foundation, this organization has an endowment that is worth close to $9 billion. Make sure you heard me correctly on that. Not 9 million, $9 billion. With that, it is one of the world's largest foundations in the entire world. A $9 billion endowment is a whole hell of a lot of money. And so as you start digging through this and as you start going through some of the language, they've got this great packet that's available, the W.K. Kellogg Foundation. It's called the Policymakers Action Kit. And lo and behold, what is noted in this? A proclamation for the National Day of Racial Healing. Commissioner Rob Zappel was seemingly not satisfied with the substitute motion made by Commissioner Scalise, and as you would expect, played dumb, having seemingly no idea how any of this comes to fruition. Take a listen to this back and forth.
The proclamation that we have before us, the consideration of National Day of Racial Healing proclamation that was just beautifully read by Commissioner Rivenbark.
Beautifully read. That was beautifully read. Thank you, Rob.
Has nothing to do with the W.K. Kellogg Foundation.
Okay. So again, here's another claim. I'm an equal opportunity offender. Commissioner Scalise opened his commentary that this has something to do with the W.K. Kellogg Foundation. He made that claim. He needs to be fact-checked on that. Took a look at it. Go to their website. It's not hidden. It's literally one of their main signature efforts. You go to the dayofracialhealing.org website, which is where this is coming from. And all the way down at the bottom, the footer very clearly states who is responsible for this organization and who is responsible for this entity. You know, I'm a big fan of bringing receipts to a conversation. And so I'm very curious how Commissioner Scalise, or Commissioner Zappel, can make that claim when you go to the website, dayofracialhealing.org, and look at their policymakers, which policymakers would be those that are in elected government, the Policymaker Action Kit. And lo and behold, it encourages policymakers, which would be members of the New Hanover County Board of Commissioners, to pass a proclamation. Whereas the blank, in this case it would read New Hanover County, affirms that all people, regardless of their racial, ethnic, and religious group identification, skin color, or physical traits, deserve an equal opportunity to experience well-being in a just society and be full participants in our democracy. We acknowledge that we must work to address historic and present-day harms of racism, heal the wounds created by racial, ethnic, and religious bias, and build communities where all children can reach their full potential and thrive. All children have the right to safety, dignity, and humanity, and must be provided every opportunity to grow, learn, and flourish in a nurturing environment. Every individual possesses the ability to learn, grow, and change, and build communities of accountability, care, and collective action. If we all dedicated ourselves to a process that brings individuals and communities wholeness, repair the damage caused by racism, and transform societal structures into ones that affirm the inherent value of all people, we can bring about the necessary changes in thinking and behavior that will propel this great country forward as a society where everyone belongs. Racial healing is a vital and critical commitment to the education, social, mental, and overall well-being of all of our children. That's the proclamation that is recommended by the Day of Racial Healing organization, which is funded by the W.K. Kellogg Foundation. So the commentary there, the argument there from Commissioner Zappel that this has nothing to do with this nearly $9 billion left-wing group is a complete and total lie.
The proclamation that we have before us, the consideration of National Day of Racial Healing proclamation that was just beautifully read by Commissioner Rivenbark, has nothing to do with the W.K. Kellogg Foundation.
Nothing.
This proclamation was brought forward by our own committee, and it reflects the values of our own citizens here in New Hanover County. Where this other thought is coming from and leading to is misleading. There may have been other proclamations that may reflect some of this same wording that somehow came out of W.K. Kellogg Foundation. I don't know, but that's not the case here.
So I have to stop him here. And I like Rob. Rob's a good guy. He's always been nice to me. He's always been accessible to me. I like him as an individual. I disagree with the vast majority of his policy. Overall, Rob's a good guy. However, I will hammer him on this notion, and this is something that you are seeing growing ever more on the left, and you need to be very aware of this as you watch these kinds of conversations unfold. Whenever they are called out on their nonsense, whenever somebody questions something, it is always the same tack on the political left. I have no idea what you're talking about. There's nothing here. I don't understand. They always play dumb and they always play stupid to try and make it as if they have no freaking idea what you're talking about. This is something that I'm seeing growing more and more on the left. We saw it back in Minnesota a couple of weeks ago when you had the situation involving a woman who decided it was a good idea to try and run over a member of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE. And lo and behold, you had to watch all of these leftists on social media and on cable TV pretend that they have no freaking idea what's going on. They have no clue what's happening, that they're not responsible for ratcheting up the political pressure. This is just something brand new to them that has popped onto the scene. This is a growing way of dealing with these issues on the left. Just play dumb and stupid and hope nobody calls you on it.
We have a group that is a committee that is appointed by the commissioners that has come forward with this locally produced and reflecting the values of New Hanover County citizens. That's what this is about. Now, I also happen to agree with much of what you wrote.
Which parts do you disagree with?
I agree with the proclamation that was read to us by Commissioner Rivenbark, and that's the one I support.
I understand. Well, I'm just curious, whenever you say something like the W.K. Kellogg Foundation doesn't have anything to do with it, what are you basing that on? Because the National Day of Racial Healing is a creation of the W.K. Kellogg Foundation. That is an undeniable fact. The proclamations have been proposed across the United States by the W.K. Kellogg Foundation. It is their brainchild.
Yeah, well, there's been no communication between the W.K. Kellogg Foundation and the New Hanover County Commission. And we're the ones that are hearing this today and kind of dragging them into this conversation, I think is a red herring. It's simply not correct. Now, if you on a separate path would like to bring forward your proclamation at another time, we could take it in value because you are a member of this commission. And I fully respect the comments that you're making there. But we have before us something that has been brought forward by our New Hanover County's committee. And that's what we're considering, and I fully support it.
I understand. And again, I'm prepared to...
Madam Chair, I'll call point of order. We have a vote. We have a motion and a second. Can we call the vote,
Madam
please?
Chair, please, we have extended commentary on any number of issues.
Okay, have you said your piece?
Well, I would like to respond to Commissioner Zappel.
Okay, go ahead.
Another thing to highlight in this, for those listening, that was the voice of Stephanie Walker, who is probably the greatest user of the playing stupid, playing dumb, I have no idea what's going on. If you have watched any of the New Hanover, hell, even if you went back and watched when she was a member of the New Hanover County Board of Education, she starts most of her comments with, I don't understand or I don't know. That whenever something is not going the way of her, which it would be that of a conservative or Republican leaning or viewpoint, it's always the same tack. I don't understand. I don't know. I have no clue what's going on. This doesn't make sense. It's always the same thing with these individuals because they don't really have an argument. So they play dumb and they play stupid as if they have seemingly no idea what's going on around them because there's no good way to argue against stuff. So you play dumb and you play stupid and hope everybody just moves on. Commissioner Scalise, not letting them off the hook. Bravo.
Commissioner Scalise.
I understand that this is going to be a vote that is not going to go my way, but I have a philosophical difference that I'm trying to express to the community. I have provided an alternate motion. I have provided an alternate motion that is based on the Constitution of the United States, not inspired by an organization that doesn't have a local presence. It is undeniable that this was absolutely from this organization. That's where the day came from. It's where the idea for the proclamations came from. I will stop at this point. I understand that I'm not going to prevail on my vote, and I respect that, but I do ask that I have the opportunity to explain myself. I'm not excitable. I'm not doing this in some untoward way. I have an opinion, and I'm trying to express it to the public, Commissioner Walker.
Yeah, but the Democrats aren't interested in that because your opinion, in this case, Commissioner Scalise's opinion, is the, quote, wrong opinion. He has the wrong idea, according to the majority of the commission. Therefore, members like Stephanie Walker don't want him to be able to say that because, again, it's hard to defend this stuff. It's hard to argue against the point that this is not, in fact, a brainchild of the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, even though it's literally plastered all over their website. So you can't really argue that it's not and not their responsibility. So you try and call the vote. You try and shut down the conversation. You rudely interrupt. This is a growing trend from Commissioner Walker because she's, frankly, not a very good county commissioner. She's not a very good politician in any way, shape, or form. So the solution is shut down your opposition. Don't let them speak. Cut them off. Be rude because you're going to lose the issue. So why bother letting it go forward?
I'll just close this by saying I was myself a member of this commission at one point when it was first launched, and I have no idea who the Kellogg Institute is. And
there it is again, ladies and gentlemen, there it is again. I have no idea what you're talking about. I am not sure what you mean. I've never heard this before in my life. Little old me's never heard this before. Playing dumb, playing stupid, playing ignorant to the situation. Guys, we understand that this is how you operate now. You're going to have to find a new way to try and deflect an argument outside of, I have no freaking idea what you're talking about. It doesn't work anymore. You've once again played the card too many times, and now everybody knows what your hand is full of, which is, I don't know what I don't know what's being talked about. I don't understand. I have no idea. I have no clue. We can see right through it. It's blatantly obvious at this point.
It was being done when I was on the commission and continues to this day are of local matters that are important to our community. And I just feel like we have a vote in a second, and we should just go ahead and vote on it. Thank you.
Are there any more comments? And is there a second for Commissioner Scalise's substitution motion? Okay. No second, your substitution fails. Commissioner Zappel has made a motion and Commissioner Walker has seconded. I'll take a vote on that motion for the original resolution. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
So that is 4-1, Commissioner Scalise in opposition.
You know what's so frustrating about this is maybe if you're not super tuned into local politics, the New Hanover County Board of Commissioners currently has a 3-2 Republican to Democrat majority. There are 3 Republicans on that board, including the chairwoman in Leanne Pierce, and including the former chairman in Commissioner Rivenbark. Commissioner Bill Rivenbark is also a registered Republican. So 3 Republicans, 2 Democrats, and the final vote on this National Day of Racial Healing proclamation is 4-1. That is incredibly frustrating. I am not interested in my county government, my city government, my state government, or even the federal government spending time on these kinds of things. It does not make anybody's life better. This proclamation doesn't do anything. It doesn't say anything. It doesn't move any policy. It's just a bunch of words thrown onto a piece of paper to try and appease those on the political left. It doesn't move any balls forward. It doesn't solve any problems. But here's the dirty little secret, folks. And in years past, I wouldn't have been able to say this because I would have had to worry about my employer firing me. But guess what? I'm my own boss now, so I can say whatever the hell I want. Those on the political left strive in a position in which people are pitted against each other. Why is it that those on the left are always using the race card? Why is it that they always want to talk about these things like racial healing and want to talk about oppressors and oppressed? Why is it that they want to talk about that? Because they thrive when people are pitted against each other. They thrive when they can hold group and take groups of individuals and put them at each other's throats. It's good for business. It's good for their agenda. They're not interested in unity. They're not interested, as the resolution reads, open dialogue and shared commitment. No, they want people to hate each other. They want people to be divided based on things that they have no control over. Things like race. They've got a vested interest in that division. They've got a vested interest in having individuals pitted against each other. That's the dirty little secret. That's saying the quiet part out loud. Why is it that they're teaching this stuff in your children's classrooms? Why is it that these kinds of proclamations are coming forward? Why is it that a group that has a $9 billion endowment is dumping potentially hundreds of millions of dollars into a concept known as the National Day of Racial Healing? Why is any of that taking place? Because they want to see us pitted against each other. They don't want unity. They don't want people to have dialogue and have conversation and come together. They thrive when individuals are pitted against each other. And you can go through this PDF, which I'll, by the way, have in the show notes over at patreon.com/Nick Craig. You can support the show for as little as $5 or $10 a month. Get access to daily show notes and more, including all of the source documentation here. Again, don't take my word for it either. I want you to fact check me and make sure I'm bringing my receipts as well. I'll put all of it out there over at patreon.com/Nick Craig. And you can just go through this document and just see it seeping and dripping with leftist ideology, leftist agenda, virtue signaling, dog whistling, gaslight. It's disgusting. And there's nothing about this that brings us together as a community. I just read through their proposed resolution, talking about how we need to pass these resolutions. We need to pass these proclamations. We need to, it says it right here, present day harms of racism, healing the wounds created by racism. It's what they want. It's what they want people to think. It's what they want people to believe. Great comment coming in on our Rumble live chat. Our children only need, quote, racial healing after teachers indoctrinate them on race. Otherwise, children would be indifferent to race. Racism is a learned concept, not an innate one. Absolutely spot on. But when your child's math teacher is teaching them about oppressors versus oppressed, and teaching them that based on their skin color, of which they have no control over, they fall into one of these buckets, no wonder it creates animosity. No wonder it pits individuals against each other. That's the goal. That's the objective. That's the point. Same thing with DEI and SEL and all this other crap that they've been indoctrinating children with. It's all to create division. And they're doing it at such a young, influential age. To their credit, once again, they've been pretty damn effective at it. It is frustrating for me to see local governments who do, in fact, have some level of finite resources. We did see a major battle take place about, about 8 months ago, as it related to the budget here in New Hanover County. No question about that whatsoever. There are finite resources. It's government. They don't produce anything to generate revenue. They tax. They take from you and I. And with those finite resources, to see that this is the priority, that this is what the best use of time is to me just a slap in the face as a taxpayer. And you should feel, I would contend you should feel the same way about it. Is this making New Hanover County a better place to live? I mean, based on the resolution, does it make New Hanover County a better place to live? Does it make the core services provided by the county, things like the sheriff's department, does it make them better off? Does it help with the New Hanover County school system, which the county is one of the largest funders of? Does it do any of those things? It does not. It will not, and it's not intended to. It's a feel-good thing for those on the political left, for these major advocacy organizations like the W.K. Kellogg Foundation. They can now go to their left-wing donors, their left-wing billionaire supporters, and say, hey, we got our proclamation passed by 1,500 local governments. Write us a check for $200 million so we can keep this circle rolling. We can keep this feedback loop up and operational. That's what they're going to do with this. That is exactly what they do with this. They can go to their donors and say, look at what we did. Here's another county. Check, put it on the put a checkbox next to it. New Hanover County, National Day of Racial Healing Proclamation. Passed. Give us some more money so we can continue this very important work. It's not the role of government. It should have never been the role of government. And it is about time that government stops playing in this kind of ballpark. It's beyond time. The American people are fed up with this stuff. They're fed up with the virtue signaling. They're fed up with the woke this and that. They're fed up with the indoctrination. They're not interested in it anymore. You guys on the left had your time to bring all this stuff forward. You did. You went way too overboard with it, which is typically the case with those on the political left. You went way too overboard on it, and now people are reacting against it. Individuals are pushing back and saying, yeah, I'm not interested anymore. This is not making my life better. It's not making my job better. It's not making me safer. It's not making my community better. It's providing nothing. And it's why you're starting to see the revolution against woke, and it can't come and cannot happen quick enough. So bravo to Commissioner Dane Scalise for pushing back against this, voicing his concerns, and standing up for the citizens of New Hanover County. And very disappointing to see a 3-2 Republican majority board go along with this stuff. It's not the business of government. It's not. It should have never been, and it shouldn't be right now. And as you can imagine, this is likely to come along next year as well, because it is the Tuesday after Martin Luther King Jr. Day, in which these proclamations are passed all over the United States of America. Let's get back to core services. Let's get back to using staff time and staff resources on things that actually better New Hanover County. And I can guarantee it, when the discussions over the budget start taking place, and they'll begin here shortly, you're going to hear the same trick and pony show and see the same trick and pony show from people like Rob Zappel and Stephanie Walker about how, oh my God, there's no time, our staff is being squeezed. Well, then maybe cut this shit out of your staff's time. If you're so worried about the resources of the county, let's cut this garbage out. I don't know. Just a thought. Thanks to Commissioner Scalise for fighting for that at the New Hanover County Board of Commissioners meeting yesterday. Regardless, and as he said, I know I'm going to lose on this, but I'm still going to voice my concern. It would go on to pass 4-1, and that is where it stands right now. I'll have all the details and all the links to this over on our show notes. Again, patreon.com/Nick Craig. All right, let's make a transition and change here. We, of course, are keeping an eye on a major potential weather event making its way to portions of southeastern North Carolina over the weekend. And this is going to be something to keep a very close eye on, especially as we get into portions of Saturday night and into Sunday and potentially Sunday night as well, as a wide sweeping low pressure system is set to bring frigid temperatures, rain, sleet, snow, and ice across portions of southeastern North Carolina, really spanning all the way from portions of Texas all the way here to the Carolina coast and northward, almost up to the Canadian border. It's pretty far out still, and that means that the weather modeling is all over the place as it stands right now. Here's the most recent weather run of the GFS. That's the North American Forecast System. And you can see here, this is valid as of Saturday morning. And you can see areas of sleet beginning to force its way into southeastern North Carolina throughout the day on Saturday into Saturday night and Sunday morning. The possibility of a transition over to freezing rain, potentially a significant amount of freezing rain as well. I'll know totals could be somewhere near half an inch, if not higher, looking at some of these details from the GFS model right now before the system continues to move out. But we could be looking at some of this situation even into portions of Monday before the system moves out of there. Here's a couple of things to keep in mind with this. It's still pretty far out in terms of a weather system. And because the line between rain, sleet, and freezing rain is very, very marginal, the temperature gradient and difference is very, very small, events like this are incredibly hard to forecast. There is a possibility, I'm just going to lay out a couple of different scenarios with this. There is a possibility that we don't see anything but rain. There is a possibility of that. We're located very close to the coast. There's the possibility that some warm air seeps in on the backside of this low pressure system and keeps us in the middle 30s. If that's the case, obviously you're not going to have freezing rain or sleet or anything like that. We will see nothing but rain. If that warm pressure or warm air does not surge into the system, that's where the greater risk is, that we'd be looking at sleet and freezing rain, to the which that could absolutely cripple the power grid and infrastructure across portions of North Carolina. Snow, probably not going to happen. The likelihood of snow seems incredibly low with this, at least for this area of the state. As you get further north and into the central part of the state, the possibility of snow could very well become more of a possibility, even some significant snowfall totals as you head into the northern portion of North Carolina. Not going to be an issue here. However, it looks like we could be seeing a few tenths of an inch of ice or worth of ice and freezing rain, coating of sleet possible as well. Talking about major roadway issues as it relates to icy roadways, power disruptions due to tree limbs knocking down power lines. So that is what we're looking at right now. It's still pretty early on. It's only Wednesday morning. We're talking about a system that is not going to really start affecting the area until Saturday night. So I would suspect over the next probably 36 hours or so, we will get a better idea of what this situation is going to look like. If you are watching the trends, the possibility of rain is becoming more of an option for southeastern North Carolina. However, I'm not going to sit here and guarantee anything at this point. It's still a very dynamic system. Again, the difference between rain and sleet and snow and freezing rain in a situation like this is, we're talking about like a degree or two. It's a very, very close kind of system. And just looking at some of the latest modeling here from the some of the other weather models, the European model is now backing off in terms of the ice, looking more like rain. It's going to be a hairy one. I don't know that I'd start battening down the hatches or anything like that, but just be aware that especially Saturday night into Sunday, the possibility of some severe winter weather across southeastern North Carolina is a possibility. If you've got a generator and you haven't started it up in a year or so, maybe not a bad idea to do that as well. I'll be keeping an eye on these models throughout the next couple of days and bring you the latest as soon as we get it right here on the Nick Craig Show. Before we wrap up our program this morning, I want to let you know about the Law Group here in Wilmington and thank them for their continued support of the program. When legal challenges arise, make sure you put your trust in the Law Group. For now more than 22 years, their experienced attorneys have provided high-quality, affordable legal services across the eastern half of North Carolina. Whether you're facing a divorce, navigating a real estate transaction, or maybe you're in a position where you need a strong criminal defense. If so, the Law Group has your back. Their dedicated team ensures your questions are answered and issues are resolved as quickly as possible. Great news, folks. The Law Group is not some big national law firm. Melissa Gott and her team live, work, play in our community. They're located in downtown Wilmington and just a phone call away at 910-251-6088, or you can visit them online at lawgroupnc.com. Give them a call for any legal challenges you might be facing, 910-251-6088, or visit their website, lawgroupnc.com. The Law Group. Experience and dedication you can rely on. We appreciate Melissa Gott and her team for their continued support of the Nick Craig Show. Coming up tomorrow, President Donald Trump is in Davos, a little bit of a delayed flight. He was expected to leave the East Coast about 11 o'clock last night. There were some electrical issues aboard Air Force One, so about 45 minutes into the flight, they turned back around, came back stateside. The president jumped on another plane around midnight and made his way over to Davos, where the World Economic Forum is taking place. We will likely hear about tariffs as the continued trade war ratchets up between the United States and other nations. Potentially hear some details about what's going on with Greenland as well. One of the other things that we're tracking is kind of boxing out these multi-billion-dollar hedge funds and investment groups from purchasing large swaths of real estate. A lot that we'll likely hear from the president. We'll break down all of those details coming up for you tomorrow morning right here on the Nick Craig Show. That's going to do it for a Wednesday edition. Thanks to the Law Group for their continued support. Thanks to our Patreon members as well. Don't forget that you can catch the show live weekday morning, 7 a.m., YouTube, Rumble, X, Facebook, and available 24/7 wherever you get your podcasts. Also heard weeknights 9 to 10 p.m. on WBT Radio in Charlotte. We'll do it again tomorrow morning right here on The Nick Craig Show.